film this fucking film. You better watch that shit because it's gon' go hard. Let's go. Womp Stomp Films, bitches.
Womp Stomp Films, bitches. Womp Stomp Films, bitches. Womp Stomp Films, bitches. Womp Stomp Films, bitches. Womp Stomp Films, bitches.
He hit the goal.
And hello, it is Friday, July 12th, 2024, and it is Ghost Files Friday. Welcome back, everybody. We had a nice month-long hiatus here at Womp Stomp headquarters, but we are finally back, finally hooked up, finally got my webcam working, my microphone hooked up, a place to actually stream from. It's really, really nice. It's good to see everybody. I know the chat has been popping off before I even got on live today. I see everybody just saying hello. Of course, a little quick hello to Gap. After Dark, of course, Mitch the Ripper, Random Kid 29, Lamontre's here, Olivia's here, Sam Haynes here, Allie's here, Steve's here, The Collector. Lots of stuff coming in. Wow, you guys are jumping right in. I hope everyone had a happy Independence Day weekend for those of you who are here in the States. I don't know if anybody's watching international, but we had a fun 4th of July out here. I got all my fingers. So I guess that's a success, make it through the 4th with all your fingers. I think that's a way to start it. This week, I'll be right up front. I don't really have much planned for tonight. I really just wanted to get back on, say hello to everybody. It's been very busy around here behind the scenes. I can't necessarily talk about too much about what's going on right now, but part of the reason why I haven't been around for the last few weeks is some work is coming in. It's actually a pretty cool opportunity. I've been working hard at that. Some of my meetings have been on Friday nights, late nights, so haven't been able to sort of counter schedule both things at the same time. But hopefully you all understand, there's a good 20-something people in here already, so at least I have some diehards that are still here. I saw some good comments in here. Before I get to that, just remember, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave some comments. If you want to ask a question, you want it right to the top of the list. That's what the super chat is for. That should be activated. And I think that's basically the intro spiel. So let's jump into a few comics right here because I saw some good ones in here that I wanted to jump on. Sam Hain had a good one here. He said, "Howdy, y'all. Does anybody else find it noticeable lacking a Friday guest at conventions this year? Other than maybe the mainstay Kane, hope they find they can go crazy for the 45th next year." I do want to say that I know the 45th anniversary. There is something going on in, I believe, California, Pasadena, that area. They're doing like the Nightmare Festival. It's that big Friday festival. It's going to be next year. James Sweet and I are hoping to get a booth for that. So Never Hike Alone and Jason Rising will be representing there, but I'm sure they're going to bring out as many convention people as they can. I know a lot of the Part 3 cast members were just in Indianapolis for Days of the Dead. And I can tell you right now that coming up in Friday the 13th in September in Colorado, Denver, the Colorado Festival of Horror. Let me make sure I'm getting this correct for y'all. One moment. I have it here. Nope, that's not it. What am I thinking? Yeah, Colorado Festival of Horror. I was right. September 13th through the 15th, I'm going to be there. We're going to do a screening of Never Hike Alone, the Ghost Cut, followed by Never Hike Alone 2. So we're going to do the entire Never Hike Alone catalog on Friday the 13th in Denver. Definitely check out Colorado Festival of Horror. Guess who's going to be there with me? Tom Matthews, just announced yesterday. So Tom will be there with me. You'll be able to watch the film with the both of us. And we're going to have a third special guest who is also in the film, Tommy McLaughlin. He does a voice acting for some of us, and he's one of the newscasters at the end of the film. In fact, I think he's the first newscaster after the big finale, and we go into the news montage into Larry. So there's 3 Friday the 13th guests hitting the convention circuit for you this year. I also know that I can announce that Never Hike Alone 2 was accepted into Minnesota's Crypticon, Minnesota, Crypticon Minneapolis. It was also selected into Horror Hound Cincinnati. So unfortunately, I will be in Denver on September 13th, but the film will be playing on Friday the 13th at Horror Hound at Cincinnati this year. So everyone in the Ohio and greater Midwest area that travels to Horror Hound Mass Fest every year, this is going to be a good chance for you to see Never Hike Alone 2 on the big screen. So cool. I mean, it's a lot of cool things are going to happen. We haven't made any official announcements yet. I'm going to talk to some people on the team. I'm hoping to get at least one or two representatives from the Never Hike Alone crew or cast to be out there. Obviously, Tom and I will be off doing our thing, but we got to find somebody. Maybe Andrew will go, maybe somebody else will go, but we'll figure it out. What else is new? Oh, we've been making good progress on the Never Hike Alone 2 Blu-rays. People have been emailing me and we've been doing updates every month, but basically we're just working on the behind the scenes right now. It's a labor-intensive process. Between the work I had to do for that potential job that may be coming up that I'll announce, hopefully in a couple of weeks, I'll be able to officially say what I'm doing. Bending that and everything in between, we've been getting further along with the behind the scenes. All of the interviews have been shaved down and cut and kind of put together. So now it's up to me to sort of go in and start building out some of the chapters, which should be a little bit easier. I got a structure for it. I just have to kind of go in and do my thing. But it's nice. So we're actually spending an entire day tomorrow is a big cutting day. Aside from that, there's other things that we have to get launched and start getting things going. Other things are going on behind the scenes. So anyone wondering about where the Blu-rays are or anything like that, we are working on that stuff. And in fact, we're closer to shipping things out than obviously we were last month. But I would say sometime in mid-August, early September, I think we'll have everything that we'll need to ship out, or at least most of the things to at least get started. Some early shipping will start going out pretty soon. I'm now set up to start doing some shipping things. I just have to get my workstation set up at we have some space at a warehouse that my father owns. We do antiques, so we got like this nice big warehouse. So we're going to set up everything out there. And once that's all good to go and we have we lock down our inventory, we're going to start building packages and sending things out. So we're looking forward to doing that. Some other things that are in the news. Gotham Noir is currently, I believe, at 27 or 28% on Kickstarter. There's only about 8 days left, so it's a little bit of a Hail Mary to get to the end, but I think they can do it. If you haven't checked out the Gotham Noir Kickstarter yet, you can check out the last Ghost Files number 21 with the team from Lux Media who joined me and talked a little bit about the project. If you don't know about it yet, we've been posting and sharing everything on our reels. On our Instagram, it's full of great new Batman material. Gotham Noir is a horror film with Batman. So if you haven't checked out that Kickstarter yet, please check it out. Give what you can. Let's see if we can get this up to, let's see if we can get them to their goal. Because we definitely want to see this movie happen. So definitely check that out and help those guys out. Let me see what else is going on. More Kickstarters are coming down the way. The Never Hike Alone 2 Final Cut is coming along. I had a good chat with editor Mike Appy earlier this week. We talked about some different ways to put the film together. I had pitched him sort of one way to do it, and then we talked about another way to do it. So we might do a couple of versions, see what's there, and then, pick the best one and go from there. Those of you who don't know what the plan is for the Never Hike Alone Final Cut Blu-ray, my idea is this. I think the most sense to make is that we're going to do this supercut. That's going to be its own disc. So it's going to be a large file. We may do some new special features on that. I'm going to do a second disc. And the second disc is going to have every single video we've ever done for Never Hike Alone on it. So that's every behind the scenes. That's the previous Never Hike Alone. So if we can fit Never Hike Alone, the final cut, but also the original version of 2, Never Hike Alone, Snow, some of the other interstitial things that we did, behind the scenes, gag reels, things like that. We want to try and put as much of it in one package as possible. So anyone who may stumble upon it in the future, we don't have to print out 5 different versions of the Blu-ray. Moving forward, we'll just print out the final cut and we'll get that out to people. We're going to talk about getting some black cases, some red cases, maybe some other colors if other people want to throw out some suggestions, if they want different things, maybe do some different cover art, stuff like that. But we'll get to that when we get there. Speaking of the final cut, Ghost in the Fog. also making a ton of progress. I've seen a lot of new art over the last month and a half. Juan and his team at Mako Animation have been doing an amazing job down there. They've redesigned the characters, including Jason. They've been working on the sets, so they've been building out the sets in Unreal Engine. It's going to be a 2D film, but we're going to build 3D sets and then set the 2D assets in. It's going to be pretty cool, and it's a pretty economical way to do animation versus having to draw all of your backgrounds. Being able to create a 3D set and then just line it up and go is going to be, I think, a lot easier for the artists and the animators. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm really excited. So lots of things going on here. And been staying busy, but finally got a chance to sit down and put some stuff together for you guys this week. I left Sam Hain's comment up this entire time. You're getting a ton of free press, buddy. Let me just go put on my little logo. Bing. There we go. Everybody went away. Now we're going to comments. Here we go. All right, let's see what's going on out here in the world. What's up, Allie girl? Good to see you. He's ready for Deadpool Wolverine. Whoa, I'm going fuzzy. What's going on here, buddy? Ooh, there we go. Deadpool versus Wolverine comes out in 2 weeks. Yeah, I mean, it's a good time to be a movie fan right now. Maxine came out last week. I saw it, loved it. Thought the ending was a little predictable. Kind of knew who the killer was the whole time. They almost made it obvious. But I just love the aesthetic of it. The fact that, Maxine was made for $4 million blows my mind because it looks like a $15, $20 million movie. But I'm definitely excited for Deadpool Wolverine. Fans have been asking for this for a long time. I think there's going to be some fun stuff in it. All the Deadpool movies have been fun so far. So let's see what happens with Marvel's first rated R film. This was a funny comment that made me laugh before we went live, but who remembers when Never Hike Alone 2 was called Never Hike Again? So yeah, that was actually a highly debated topic during the process of Never Hike Alone 2 was, originally it was Never Hike Again was supposed to be the first act of Never Hike Alone 2. So that's, from the opening scene all the way to, I would say, Tommy driving away in the ambulance before they fight and he shoots Jason in the chest. That section is called Never Hike Again because we're going over the events of Never Hike Alone again. And that's why I called that chapter Never Hike Again. The next chapter was called Jason Takes Crystal Lake, which is him coming to town, which is him going to the Wessex County, medical center and, wreaking havoc and going. And then the final hike, which was the last hike that all of our surviving characters take to the camp to go face Jason one last time, was sort of the 3 chapters that we were going to do. Because originally, if you remember, maybe you don't, but we were going to do 3 different episodes prior to COVID. And then once COVID happened, we combined everything. I didn't want people to get confused. So I called it Never Hike Alone 2. So people knew that we weren't doing the series anymore. We were going back to doing a movie. But even then I had people on my staff being like, we should still call it Never Hike Again. And it's still one of those things. I think I will always wonder if I should have changed it, but I think the 2 works. I think it makes sense. It is a continuation of everything else. But yeah, I mean, but that is funny. Let's see. Yes, sit back and relax. What's up, Undead? Good to see you out here. Undead's our moderator, so make sure you say what's up to him. If you have any questions, he'll answer them in the chat for you. We'll go from there. The motion capture scene was friggin' awesome. Of what? Motion capture. I'm missing something here. Well, I don't know what you're talking about, but maybe you can fill me in a little bit. MLG Bendy Gamer, glad to see you too, buddy. Max Parker's here. Janine's here. Anyone going to a Friday 2 screening on Thursday? Where's the screening happening on Friday 2? That would be a good one to see on the big screen. Let's see. Looking for more things. Hey, Stout's here. Where is he going? Boop. There he is. Adam Stout's in the house. Deputy himself. Let me see. I'm trying to keep up on everything. Definitely make a note to do this. And then, yes, thank you for sharing the link. I probably should put that in the description. Maybe I will afterwards. And look, Lux Media checking in. What's up, guys? Here he is. I'm hoping that one of your announces something written and directed by you. Don't care what it is. Ready for more. The first thing I am going to announce when it does come up, I did not direct or write, but I am producing. I'm coming on to produce a project. But that also means that I get to hopefully direct a project next spring, which I didn't write, but I helped to do a rewrite on it and have been involved with this project for, I want to say, over 4 years. It was a project I got attached to sometime in, I want to say late 2018, early 2019, that I carried through, and we got all the way up to COVID, and then everything kind of shut down on it. And then we've been trying to bring it back ever since. And then the strike happened. So that sort of went under the rug. There's also a second project, which I just did a rewrite on, that is also out there that could be made the following year. I think maybe not this winter, but a following winter, because it is a winter set film, back to the snow for us. So there are some original stuff coming on, but you got to remember, like, anything that we get involved with production wise, it's something that I've read, it's something that I've vetted. It's, you know, people that I've talked to who have a very similar drive and attention to detail that we do. So, you know, great examples of this are Jason Rising, Dylan's New Nightmare, Pathosis, things like that, where, you know, I'm not directing, but I'm heavily involved. I'm giving influence. I'm, you know, making suggestions, and I'm helping filmmakers sort of see the things they can't see, because I was saying this to somebody the other day, that sometimes you're on your project, you've been on it for 1,000 hours, you've looked at it from every angle, and it all looks the same again, and you need someone with fresh eyes to come in and give you sort of a, hey, here's the reality of things. So I usually do that when I produce films. I'm very good at kind of talking people through sequences and coming up with ideas to spruce things up. So don't count that out. Let's see. I still want to see Jason take out the Karens of the HOA. I think that would be a fun one. We can make that work there. Let's see what Ben Brown has to say. I think Never Hike Alone 2 was the right choice. The other name could make which order to watch them confusing. Exactly. We already made it confusing with Never Hike in the Snow. I really screwed myself on that. Between Never Hike in the Snow, hitting COVID, people were like, this is a sequel. No, it's a prequel. And they didn't know what was going on. So it was really kind of fun. Oh, that's what he was talking about. So Sam Hain was talking about stop motion. So, oh yeah, the stop motion things that we do. Yeah, those are fun. I made those with Carolyn Gare many, many years ago, but the what we're doing with Ghost in the Fog is not stop motion. It is 2D animation. It's gonna be awesome. Let's see. Let's see. We got this. Lenny, would you ever consider a special edition with all 3 Never Hike Alone films cut together in one? You must have just jumped on, because we're going to do the final cut campaign sometime in late August, early September. The idea is to get the final cut now done by Friday the 13th in December. So my goals for this year are, we got to finish the behind the scenes. That's going to happen this summer. We're going to go into production, you know, with the Blu-rays and all of those things. We're going to ship them out as soon as we can. But as soon as we have confirmation that like the Blu-rays are in production and they're coming, that's when we're going to start working on the new campaign. Because I don't want people to get confused and think like, well, what the hell? I haven't even got my Blu-ray yet, and you're already shilling for new Blu-rays. What the hell then? I do have a schedule to get this out on, and I know this is taking a while, but things come up, and you know, we're doing our best here. But you know, we'll launch it around then, and it is cutting all 3 films together. We're talking about what interstitial things that we've added, you know, to do, how much of Disappear do we add, how much of, you know, the press conferences and, you know, episodes of Trail Junkies and things like that. Like, what's going into this? Are the intros going in and stuff like that? So there's a little bit to discuss, but we're going to give Mike all fall to do this, and we should be ready by September 13th. That's our goal, to release the behind the scenes on YouTube. So we'll be releasing our behind the scenes documentary for Never Hike Alone 2 on YouTube on Friday the 13th in September. So you can take a look or hear some of the stories about how we got this crazy film made. Keep an eye out for another post from James Sweet of Red Crow Films. They're working on a little short film that's pretty fun. It's like, I think it's 3 or 4 minutes long, but it's going to be a nice little celebration thing for Friday the 13th, which is going to be pretty cool. Speaking of Friday the 13th, oh yeah, she really likes this Womp Stomp shirt. Well, you could have got them on the last campaign, but if you do want one, let me know. You can always email me at wompstompfilms@gmail.com, and I may have some extras because we didn't sell that many during the campaign, and I bought a whole box of them. So if you would like a shirt and I got your size, I'll let you know, and we can just do it through PayPal, and you can have one of these straight up. And I can actually sell these because it has nothing to do with Friday the 13th. So that actually is a great way to help the channel. I'm hoping for Never Hike Alone 3 following Kyle, who encounters different creatures. Never Hike Alone 3 is actually going to follow a character by the name of Hiker Man 5000, who we met in the post-credit sequence of Never Hike Alone 2. That is a very fun story. It sort of pokes fun at Never Hike Alone in a way, which is kind of funny. But it has a new twist, and it takes a lot of the advantage of, if you liked Never Hike Alone in the aesthetic of Never Hike Alone, Never Hike Alone 3 will follow that aesthetic. There will be a little bit more back and forth with the camera, someone talking to it, carrying you through the narrative, but there will be other people involved. So there'll be multiple people doing this. And so I think that's going to be a pretty cool aspect. And then multiple people are also going to die. So we're sort of getting the best of both worlds with Never Hike Alone. And so we're really sort of, looking forward to that. That's something we probably won't launch for another year or two if we do it. I mean, we'll see how my other projects go if I get too busy, but this is something I do want to do. But luckily the cast is all young. I don't have to sort of rush into anything. We just have to sort of kind of work it, and we'll deal with the thing of how Jason ends up coming back. Let me see. I bet you can sell the Womp Stomp Films shirts via Teespring or one of the better websites and make a few bucks. I think I'd rather just go direct. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. We can figure it out. There's got to be a way for me to open up a store. We'll get all those things going. Max has got an idea here. What was your idea making the Disappear music video? So for any independent filmmakers out there, this would be a good story to listen to. It was the fact that, we had made Never Hike Alone. And there was a lot of people were talking shit. They were saying, oh, this film has no kills. This film has no kills. This Jason's weak. What's up? You can't kill this one dude. And I remember thinking like, well, this Jason can kill a lot of people, but this just isn't the story for that. But I would love to do that. We knew that we had to sort of get ready for Never Hike in the Snow. We needed some fresh material because, Never Hike Alone was out, but we did need something fresh to show that this Jason sort of has more potential and that he will kill more people. We ended up discovering an abandoned camp in Flagstaff, Arizona, which is now gone. And that became the set that we were going to use for Never Hike in the Snow. So Disappear really became this experimental music video. I was inspired by Trevor's music. Trevor is the same person who does all the end title songs of every Never Hike Alone film. Another Soul in Never Hike Alone, Cut Here, Never Hike in the Snow, and Old Fence in Never Hike Alone 2. And then obviously he also wrote and performed the Disappear music video. The lyrics, to me, if you just sit and listen to them and you apply them to Jason, it very much puts you in the headspace of where I think Ghost Jason is at this time, which, in the spectrum of things, this is a few years after he's returned from Manhattan. He's sort of trying to figure out what he's going to do with now the rest of eternity, because he still hasn't died and he's home, but it really hasn't solved anything. And what he goes through when people show up at Camp Crystal Lake. I wanted to show something from his perspective. Not to throw In a Violent Nature under the bus, but that's sort of what we were doing. We were showing something from the killer's POV for once. We were showing what life is like for Jason when the cameras aren't there or when the films aren't happening, what he's doing. He's sitting contemplating and, wondering about his life. People show up, he dispatches them. And then at the end of Disappear, we don't get a sense that there's any, this is the first time we've ever seen Jason win, right? I mean, all previous movies, all previous things, I've never seen Jason walk away the victor. And this is the only place in which he does, other than Never Hike in the Snow, which is, again, very much the same thing. Disappear is like a mini version of Never Hike in the Snow and kicks off this narrative about where has Jason been for the last 17 years? Why hasn't Tommy found him? And what is going on with the people who go missing and how do they go missing? So that was really sort of the exploration of it, and other than that, it was, I had just met Nora Hewitt on 13 Fanboy, which as I was unwrapping stuff the other day, I found one of my 13 Fanboy set things. So this is actually from the set of 13 Fanboy. Met Nora on 13 Fanboy. We wanted something to do. I pitched out this idea for the music video. I had the whole thing in my head, I think, for at least a couple months. I acted the whole thing out for her, and she wanted to come down. So this was a good chance for us to bring our team together, go shoot this new location, look at some new sets. You know, we had done some photography there a couple of times as well and knew we wanted to make something. And it was our, you know, this became, and we made it for nothing. I mean, I want to say it was maybe $200-300 we made it for, because everyone owned their own equipment, already had all the costume stuff. You know, everyone acted and worked for free. You know, we did it on a weekend. I think we shot it in 1 or 2 days. You know, we think we did 1 day at the camp and then 1 day down at the water. Or in fact, I think we shot both things in the same day. And then maybe did some pickups down the line. But yeah, this became a great way for us to sell Never Hike in the Snow a little bit more. We released it to announce the Never Hike in the Snow project, and it sort of became a building marketing campaign for us. But it is one of my favorite things that we've made. I think I think it only has 100,000 views, which is criminally underrated. And I know more people have seen it through watching the Ghost cut, which has about 750,000 views. So that makes me feel a little bit better. In fact, the version that's in the Ghost cut is a little bit better. There's a couple of different shots cut in, but also it includes a voiceover by Tom Matthews, which I think gives a little bit more context to the piece. So I would definitely say, you know, if you haven't sat and watched it in a while, or if you weren't really paying attention to it, go back and watch it. There's a lot of nuances and a lot of things that we put into that. And it's, I think, one of our best efforts, honestly, if you ask me. Exactly. Mitch is right on top of it, as always. Disappear stands out as the answer to what is Jason doing in his downtime? The whole box of stories waiting to be explored. Billy Boy's looking for an animated Friday the 13th. We can't wait to bring you Ghosts in the Fog. I can say that, you know, like I said, been busy a few weeks. One really cool thing is that, you know, Ghosts in the Fog, that's going to have to be a stretch goal on the next campaign. So I think the first goal is going to be around $30,000. And then at $60,000 or $70,000, that's when we can add Ghosts in the Fog to the Final Cut Blu-ray. So we're really going to need to push that. I think after raising $350,000 last time, we shouldn't have a problem hitting 70K, 75K, but you never know. You don't know what the people want. We're going to be on Kickstarter. We don't know how that's going to end up working with the shift and all those things. So, you know, we got a lot to kind of figure out on our end. But we're looking for that. But also, we have interest in getting Ghost Chicken produced. So Ghost Chicken, which is a project that I've teased for a very long time, that I thought I was going to have to build a crowdfunding campaign for. I may not need to, or I may get funding to make it, and then we would use a crowdfunding campaign to make it even better. You know, and get people's names in the credit. Because I know that's one of the things we're going to do as far as projects goes. The company I'm talking to, they're very interested in funding movies fully. Like, I don't need to raise extra money to do it. Like, we're going to get the funding to do these films and have, you know, a decent budget to get these things done. And then we're going to go to crowdfunding so we can give fans, you know, our fans who have supported us for the last 8 years, an opportunity to still get their names in the credits and films that are going to the theater. So that's something that hopefully we'll be able to talk a little bit more about in a few months. Like I said, like, we probably won't know definitive answers on this first project until August. I won't know definitive answers on my project for probably a few more months after that. But, you know, the minute that we sign off the option and, you know, I got a production date and we start talking to some location managers, I'll bring up a little bit more about what I'll be up to. But I'm very excited about stepping into the original space, doing an original feature with a good budget and some opportunities to bring on some really talented actors. And, you know, the coolest part is a lot of the Womp Stomp film scene is going to come with me as we do it. So, you know, I know I've been gone for a month, but it's sort of been worth it because this is the stuff that I've been working on. You know, and I've been thinking about Ghost Files too, thinking about like how cool it's going to be, you know, as we get closer to these sort of milestones, you know, hopefully as they happen, that, you know, we're going to go along for the ride. You know, I want to bring you guys with me as much as I can when I'm not doing, you know, meetings and things like that. I want to make that space for you. And we're going to keep that going. Let's see. Tyler, I got you on VFX. We'll get you in there. We'll probably hit you up for the final cut to go over some shots that we pick out to get reworked. With how popular things animated work is on YouTube, it may go viral. I hope so. One thing that we can talk about, is, the Friday the 13th of it all. I mean, recently, we had some of that news that got leaked out, which was pretty devastating, about the film getting retooled. We found out that Nick Antosca is one of the lead people to come in and maybe take it over, which is really, really nice. But other than that, we haven't heard much. Not much has really been going on with Friday the 13th since. We keep hearing whispers of a video game. We've heard, whispers of different things, but the Jason universe has been very, very quiet since basically sending Jason into that video game, which I still haven't even attempted to play yet. So who knows what's going on with the Friday the 13th world. Hopefully I'll be able to find my way back to it. But if not, we always have our fan film world. We'll continue doing stuff here. Again, if Ghost in the Fog ends up being as a big a hit as I hope it can be, we're going to start working on a couple other projects. I actually started writing The Ghost of Crystal Lake. I started writing it as a novel, actually. I wrote the first 2 chapters because I had to get it out of my head. I swear, the opening of the movie for both characters, as I've explained to you guys before about, Jason and then the John Rambo type character, both their origin stories in the project sort of, had just been rattling around in my brain for like a year and a half, even longer than that. So I finally got them down on the page just to get them out of my brain. But I'm really sort of inspired to write it as a novel at first, because at least I could release that down the line. I can always change it back into a script. It's not going to be hard to really make that adjustment. But my goal with it is to sort of write it as a, like a sort of in the same framework as Rambo is written. Rambo, and of course I'm forgetting the author's name because I'm a friggin' idiot. But anyway, Rambo is written really cool. In one chapter, you see everything from Rambo's perspective. And then in another chapter, you see everything from Teasel's perspective. And what's really cool about that is that it feels like you're reading 2 different books. It feels like you're reading one book told by one person and another book told by another person, and their perspectives and their, opinions and all of these things sort of push and pull you throughout the book because you don't really know who to root for. I mean, in the film, it's very clearly that we're rooting for John Rambo. John Rambo has been pushed too far, and he is, he tries not to kill anybody, and he ends up killing someone accidentally, and he's just trying to defend himself. In the book, Rambo doesn't even have a first name, and he's a murderous son of a bitch. The minute he snaps, he starts killing. I mean, he kills cops in the police station right away. I mean, that straight razor, he ends up cutting someone's guts open. He runs into the forest. He kills more people out there. He kills like 6 deputies and all the dogs. And Teasel is like the last one alive, crawling his way out of the forest by the time Rambo's done with everybody. And now Rambo's implanted in there, and that's when the National Guard shows up. So when that happens, it's cool because it's like, if you've seen the movies first, you're sort of reading it, and all of a sudden you're like shocked by the things that Rambo does. And so even though, he is doing these things and he's murdering people, but you also understand what he's going through because he's having a psychotic break. Not to say that our character in this one's going to have so much of a psychotic break that he's killing like people in town. That's not what the point is. But he does have his own sort of story that he's going through, his own, demons that he's running from. And both him and Jason are running from different demons. They just happen to come together towards the end of the story and kind of come together. So I'm really excited about that. Steve jumped in with a comment right here that I want to note. Brian Dennehy was great in the first film. He really was. I mean, Brian Dennehy, he plays off of Rambo really, really well. He did a good job of playing sort of the bad guy in it, which was pretty cool. But it's funny. I watched it again the other day just to kind of refresh my memory and make sure I wasn't like accidentally copying things, because sometimes you sort of do that. You got to make sure you're not like one for oneing scenes you've seen in other things. So it was really cool, to see his Teasel's turn by into the movie to realize that like he's really kind of messed up because he's unleashed this monster. But I'm looking forward to that. Here, I got a question from Adam Stout over here. Question: since Jason X takes place in 2450 or something, what is Jason doing in 2500? Something when Idiocracy takes place. Oh my God. I think Jason gives up by then. I think Jason, he goes to kill people and he realizes it's not worth it because it's just so friggin' stupid. But I think technically, I think we've passed the window for Jason X, or at least when he gets frozen. But technically, you know, whatever happens in the world of Never Hike Alone, you know, the Jason X world could, like, it's not to say that it couldn't go towards Jason X eventually. It just happens maybe further down the road. I wouldn't bet that out because I love Jason X and I'd love to make Jason X 2 one day. What's he saying this? The Broken Mask New Line films aren't even concurrent canon to each other. Yeah, sometimes they reset each other. It's almost like, but honestly, I think Jason Goes to Hell and Freddy versus Jason are linked. I think Jason is coming back from hell, and they acknowledge that, you know, Jason Goes to Hell happened in Freddy versus Jason. Jason X, not so much. Jason X sort of exists in its own world. It's like its own, like, it's like Godzilla. You know what I mean? It's like a Heisei Godzilla where it's just, no, actually Heisei was a continuous stream, more Millennium Godzilla, where they just do like a hard reset and just told its own story based on the things that we already knew. What is he doing? Jason is running the Department of Unmentionable Things. No, Jason is, what did Luke Wilson get hired for? Secretary of State or something like that? Or Secretary of the Interior. That's what it was. What does the Secretary of the Interior even do? Would like to do a prequel to Jason X like Rogue One was the first Star Wars. I mean, it would be a lot less epic, but you would have to see, like, yeah, that would be a cool story. How did they capture Jason? Definitely a cool story to look at. David Morrill. That's it. That's correct. Thank you. As soon as I saw it out of the corner of my eye, I was like, there it is. Broken Mask had a question. Where did you film the Crystal Lake scene in Never Hike Alone? That was filmed in Carson, Washington at a private, on private lands. So that was owned by family friends of James Sweet. They used to own, or they do still own, a logging company, and that area used to be a big logging lake. And so that they shut down production in that area, and the family just owned the land. So they're building, it's just property that they would go to like a summer retreat every year. It was like a summer camp. And they have one cabin there that had all the amenities that you need. And then they had a bunch of space that we could park our cars and things like that. And we shot it in a way that makes it feel like, you know, the camp is just behind those woods and everything. And in fact, there's a shot at the end of Never Hike Alone 2 during the FBI scene where they're pulling bodies out of the cabins and finding all of these missing people that have been missing for all this time. There's a shot of Andrew as he steps into frame as we're looking at Diana. And so he's looking at Diana, she's looking at her son, and then he stops and turns around and looks past camera. When we cut to the other side, we're jumping from California to Washington. It's like literally on the cut. It's something we did a lot in Never Hike Alone as well. It's how we ended up putting a lot of the cabins together. But just a little behind the scenes, little note right there for the fact that that is actually an interstate cut in the film to make it feel like the lake is right down there. The Friday the 13th comics are underrated. I will halfway agree with you. I feel like a lot of the Friday the 13th comics are haphazardly written. Some of the artwork is not that great. Some of the story work, like the story work especially, is very odd. Goes in very weird directions, but they're fun to have. I mean, some of the artwork's amazing. I mean, the Jason versus Leatherface, I think, is a really good one if you can get your hands on it. That's one to own. I used to own it, but I gifted it to a good friend of mine for his birthday. So he has them now, definitely in better hands than mine. I'm not a big collector of things like that. I collect them to actually read them. I want to read them and see them. And if, you know, other than that, they go in a box and they never come out again. So I want somebody who's going to keep them and put them on display and stuff like that. That's funny. Shoot Jason with a net gun. I mean, this sounds like it's starting to be like an episode of, like, you know, Wile E. Coyote meets Jason. He's trying to, like, all these like things to capture Jason for the Crystal Lake things. That was dumb that he lost the fight to Leatherface. You know, I think, did he lose the fight or did he give up? I think he gave up because he saw the family aspect, and then that's the thing I liked about it, is that he saw the family that they had and he missed that. And at the end of the movie, he could have, I mean, at the end of the movie, at the end of the comic, he could have gone back in there and killed them all, but he decided to leave. He decided to leave them alone. So I would say that was Jason letting them think that they win. So I would definitely err on the side of that. Who will appear in Never Hike Alone 3 if Jason got decapitated in Never Hike Alone 2? Well, Max, I will tell you, spoiler alert, Jason will come back. Jason, unfortunately, is cursed, and Jason was motivated to stay active because he was protecting his mother's head, because he was drawn home and he wasn't sleeping. Now Tommy has sent him back into a hibernation state. So in his current condition, he really has no motivation or want or desire to go out and do anything. In the events of Never Hike Alone 3, he will be motivated. And we will see how Jason is able to overcome something like getting his head cut off. And I think it's an interesting aspect that adds to the lore of Jason, that's going to show some things that I think would be very interesting to see. And it also sort of ties into some of the artwork that we've done before too, that sort of show things off. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be interesting. Like at first I said, I don't know how I do it. And then all of a sudden it made a lot of sense. So when it happens, it's incredibly simple what happens. But I think you'll be really interested to see it. But what rises Jason out is going to be fun, and he definitely has a reason to be pissed off. Freddy versus Jason versus Ass comic was good versus Ass. Never got to read the sequel for that one. I know I read the first one. I don't know if I read the sequel either. Yeah, that was pretty good. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the Necronomicon, in the whole world, but it works for that storyline. The Friday the 13th comics in the mid 2000s were top tier. Those were pretty, I mean, they're all pretty fun. I can't remember. The Bloodbath was interesting. Bloodbath really kind of focuses on, I believe, the pre-Jason X thing, because that's when it talks about the Crystal Lake facility. He gets attacked by the government. There's a whole SWAT team that's coming in. They use kids as bait. It's actually not a bad premise for a fan film, that's for sure. Well, brother Fluff Salisbury, you tell your girlfriend, thank you very much for watching. I'm glad that she enjoyed it. Let's see. You guys are flying in today. The thing that kills me about Friday the 13th beta canon is that Elias Voorhees is too often some kind of mega villain that strikes me as a missed opportunity. Totally. Elias is always some like drunk, abusive, deadbeat who beats Pamela and all this stuff. It's like the same cliche shit. It's like Rob Zombie's Halloween. It just sort of kind of does the same thing. Steve asks, would I play Jason in NHA 3? I would. I would obviously try and find either Brian would come back. I've talked to Doug Tate about being Ghost Jason before too. I would love to see Doug in the costume. He's taller than Brian and I. He's in better shape than Brian and I. And obviously he's done it before, but I think that would be fun to bring Doug in and let him do a little bit of work. But it just depends on sort of where the production goes, what we do, because we film at the original camp. It's going to be a logistical nightmare, and it's not one that we can really just drag anybody out to. Undead jumping in. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, Facebook, all that fun stuff. Let's see, more questions. In my opinion, Jason was always abnormal. Definitely made him stronger, which is why he became more powerful in each film. I will always go with that. It was their deaths that sort of, just like any sort of ghost story, their deaths sparked something in the supernatural realm and brought them back. But yeah, there is that too. It's like, was there something from the beginning with Jason that kind of put him over, that made him different from the beginning? What made him special? What was about his, him being conceived that was different from everything else? I think that's something that a lot of Friday the 13th fans want to see explored. I'm not necessarily in that camp, because I feel like the more normal they are at the beginning, the cooler it is that like their experience at Crystal Lake sort of made this happen. But we'll see that. Okay, I think I hit all the questions. If I missed a question, you can just pop it in there again. I'll try to get it. Honestly, I think it would be interesting to see Elias trying to stop Jason from killing people. A nice juxtaposition to Pamela. Yeah, I feel like Elias not like feeling. We'll go in it. I have a Pamela story that has him in it, so I would love to bring that on. So we're gonna put those away. we've been going for about 85 minutes. I don't plan on going too long tonight, just because I don't have a guest. I don't have anything that I'm really promoting tonight. Mostly just checking in just to say what's up, because it's been a very busy few weeks. Very, very tired, to tell you the truth. One thing that might be coming back, if you do follow me on Instagram, not just Womp Stomp Films, but my personal page, I've actually been back onto my workout game. I don't know if you guys noticed. I think my face is a little slimmer than last time you saw me. I got a camera ready. The camera adds, 30 pounds? But been taking care of my health as well. So health has been getting better. Been working out, not only running, but working in more lifting. And hopefully trying to get back into Muay Thai pretty soon, because I miss it dearly. Definitely miss going to class a couple times a week and just taking out all the frustrations on the back. Hopefully again soon. And if anyone in the Southern New England area has a suggestion on where I should train, I do have one that I know I will go to. But definitely looking for training partners. Anybody wants to go out and spar, fun stuff like that. But let's get that going. What a great segue. Vinny, do you plan on checking out Longlegs soon? I plan on seeing it tomorrow. Well, so do I. I was going to try and go see it today. I just got bogged down at work, and I did not get out in time to see Longlegs and then come do this. So I'm going to go see Longlegs tomorrow. I'm super looking forward to it. Like I said, I saw Maxine last week. Big fan of the X trilogy. If I had to rank them, I would say probably in order. I think, X, Pearl, and Maxine. I liked all three. I think that, X was like the perfect, simple Texas Chainsaw Massacre-ish redo. I thought that the characters were great. I thought that the situation was great and very believable. It was simple. The camera work was out of control, and it was shocking. Pearl, a lot of people shit on Pearl for some reason, but I love Pearl. Like, it harkens back to the films of that era. I think that Mia Goth gives her best performance out of the three films in that one, because Pearl is such an interesting character and is different than Maxine. I love the turn in it. I love sort of the whimsical nature of it. It really appealed to me. I think that like Ty West was really firing all cylinders there. And Maxine, I think it got kind of poo-pooed by the critics and some fans saying, oh, well, the third act fell apart and all that stuff. I don't think Maxine fell apart at all. I think what it is that it continuing from X and still being Maxine's story, I think, and I mean this with all due respect, because Ty West is a fucking master of the craft and he's one of my favorite directors. I think that, and I'm only saying this because I feel like I did the same thing. In the sense that I think he fell in love with Maxine so much that he wanted to make sure that she got out and had a happy ending. I was expecting, and I really think Maxine should have ended on a downer, because I don't think that I think the pursuit of fame, that sort of, what she was going for isn't something that, wasn't healthy. And I think that sort of horror films are supposed to show you the unhealthy side of things and saying, when you get what you want, do you really want it? And I feel like it became sort of just Maxine is now a badass and she's going to take care of herself and she's going to fight whoever comes in and she's going to overcome her daddy issues and sort of, she's going to win the day. And I feel like by doing that, it sort of softened the blow, because Pearl and, X ends with, crazy trauma. Pearl ends with crazy trauma. Maxine ends with a shootout and then sort of a happy ending. And I feel happy for the character, but I feel like in the context of a horror movie, I thought it would be more interesting if Maxine sort of became the Black Dahlia. Like, she did become famous. She did get what she wanted, but it cost her her life. And that, I think, would have been such a great lesson to learn at the end of Maxine that would have left people really sitting with it and thinking about it versus, she got, her Hollywood ending and everything, ends well for Maxine. In the meantime, the film looked amazing. cinematography was, once again, the sets were awesome. I do have to say, when they're on the Universal lot, so when they're running around those New York streets, that's Universal. When I worked for The Voice, I used to park where she the first scene of her walking in, she's walking behind a facade that brings you into New York. That was our parking spaces. We parked back there, and then the studio, the stage for The Voice is right over that direction. You walk through New York to get to it. So it was funny watching her run around New York away from the killer, because I'm watching her run in and out of buildings, and I'm like, just keep running down the street and take a left because there's a security guard office right there. Or why is she running into the building and through these facades that only go up? Like, I was just like, this is so funny. It felt like a caper movie of like getting chased, through door to door. But watching her run through the set was surreal because I spent so much time walking through those. I knew everywhere she was going. Like, I've been there, like every single place. So it was a really cool thing to kind of see it. The stuff they did around the Hollywood sign was amazing. The way that they made Hollywood Boulevard look, throwing it back, I thought was pretty beautiful. I thought the kills were really rad. I thought all the effects work was really, really good. The lighting design, all of that stuff. It's just great. I mean, I'm glad that it's done well in the box office. I hope it continues to do well in the box office. I think one interesting thing to talk about is what's going on with Mia Goth and this background actor that she kicked in the head. It seems to be this story that has been lingering in the background. We heard about it 3 or 4 months ago, I think, when it came out. The first accusations came out. They continued filming the film. They didn't shut anything down. We haven't heard anything since. Dread Central released an article the other day releasing more information about what happened. But so far, the only person talking is the person who is alleging that these things happen. A24 hasn't said anything. Mia Goth hasn't said anything. Ty West hasn't said anything. And no one on the production has said anything. So in my head, I know people on production staffs. I'm going to tell you this. People on set, they don't give a shit who's a star, who's what. They're all out there to do a job. And if someone crosses a line, it doesn't matter if you're Mia Goth, Ty West, Mel Gibson, Kevin Spacey, any of these things. People on set, the real true blue people, the grips, the makeup department, the people who are going out there just earning a living, not getting points on the film below the line, they're not going to stand for shit like that. And people would leave and people would speak out. So for the fact that not a single person on the crew has spoken up, that's why I've been very hesitant to really get a pitchfork and start, asking for, Mia Goth to get hunted down. I've seen comments saying things like, well, I could see her doing that. And yeah, you've seen characters that she's played on screen go crazy. So you're assuming that the characters that she plays on screen is who she is in real life. And you can't really say that. But it's interesting to see that the way that this has panned out, the fact that it hasn't gotten really any attention and hasn't deterred anyone from going to see the movie in any way, shape, or form that's hurt the film. Even releasing it after the fact seems like it was sort of, they released it at a time where they let the film do its own thing. And now they're bringing this back up. But this lawsuit hasn't been, nothing has gone through on it yet. So I think it's going to be interesting as the months kind of come up to see what happens with that. But coming back to Longlegs, I'm super excited for Longlegs tomorrow. Somebody said it was more of a thriller than a horror movie. I just think thrillers are horror movies that are actually made well. Sometimes a horror movie just gets stuck with a horror movie because that's all it has. It's just the horror, and then everything else sort of falls to the wayside. But when you actually weave a good story into a horror movie, suddenly everybody wants to call it a thriller because they think it's elevated above the genre. But if it's about serial killers, if it's like Silence of the Lambs, if it has all of those things, and Nick Cage is in some getup that they've been hiding from us, it's a horror movie, and I'm looking forward to it. And I bet it goes really dark. Osgood Perkins is a fantastic director. I'm a big fan of The Black Coat's Daughter. And I know that this is going to be rad. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, so let me, boom, I'm going to hide the comment. Let me see. Hikerman 5000 only appears one time, becomes my favorite character of the Never Hike Alone trilogy. Yeah, I mean, he really is. Ryan is a great actor. He would do really, really great. Dude, yes, it has been so hot here on the East Coast. It's been ridiculous. Hey, climate change, right? Let me see. Just kind of jumping on. Olivia, good to see you. Been waiting to see more. Well, now we're here. Now we're doing it. Let's see. What does Tyler have to say? I need the dudes that can do martial arts for my TMT project. I got a dialogue-focused short film I'm producing, but I want to follow it up with an action short. Well, you should talk to Adam Michaels, who did the Casey Jones Livewire short. They might be interested in collaborating. But Tyler, I think you're in Arizona, which there's a ton of MMA guys out there. And if not, yeah, definitely, I would say start hitting up local gyms and seeing if anybody's interested in doing stunt work or anything like that, or talk to some stunt people. I'm sure you can find some martial artists in there. Let's see. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't miss out on future streams. What did you do for The Voice? That's a music show, right? Yes, I just worked for the production team. Different things. I mean, a lot of it was setup breakdowns, just managing, the days. It was pretty cut and dry. It was sort of like, it was one of those jobs I kind of jump in and out of because it's so simple. Yeah, I know it was just normal production help, nothing too fancy. What if Freddy from Dylan's New Nightmare fought Jason from Never Hike Alone as a Freddy versus Jason rematch? We're actually in discussion about talking about that, Cecil and I, and Dave. We talked about what it would take. What type of story would it be? What is the motivation? How do they tie these worlds together? But I can say distinctively that Ghost Jason and the entity from Dylan's New Nightmare both exist in the same world. So we will try to bring them together at some point. But, Cecil's working on Dylan's New Nightmare 2 right now. He's writing it and getting it ready. And obviously, Ghost Jason's taking a nap at the bottom of the lake. So whenever we're ready, we'll approach it and we'll see what people really want to do. Let me see. A remake that'd be done right by Womp Stomp. Yeah, we would have fun. We would have fun doing it. Can I sing? Kinda. I used to sing in a metal band. There's a band called End It All. You can find it on Bandcamp. If you look really, really hard, you have to find the right End It All, New Bedford, metalcore. I was a band back in college. I did screaming vocals. I didn't really sing. I can sing a little bit, but I definitely need voice lessons. And Never Hike in the Snow was the mask that looked like Roy Burns' mask. So what was the mask belonging to him? So that mask is simply a box of masks with different chevrons on each one. It was a box of masks that they would give out to kids during winter camp so they could play hockey. If you could look closely, I don't think you can really see it, but I wrote on the box winter 67. It was sort of an allude to, they tried to open up the camp in 67, but Pamela sabotaged it. So all of that equipment that they bought for the winter camp went into storage. And then in the story for the Ghost of Crystal Lake, the origin story that I said I was working on, that box actually comes back into play. We actually find the origin of how that box came out of hiding in that story. So that was planted there for a setup for a future story of that. So there's actually a lot to pay attention to there. But, you're in Sacramento? Oh yeah, dude, Sacramento, NorCal has a ton of fighters. If you're ever down in LA, I could definitely hook you up with a gym that's got a ton of people. Those TMT costumes are going to be expensive though. That would be funny. Uber Jason versus Uber Freddy, that'd be kind of rad. Ghost Jason, Your Nightmare Freddy clash over eBay bidding war. That's funny. Screaming is singing. It really is. It really is. I mean, it takes talent. You can't just like make the noises. I didn't know I could do it. I started doing it just because I liked doing the voice, like Alex Alejo from Children of Bodom. I used to like mimicking his voice back in the day because he was just so high. He was just like, yeah, it was just like right up there. So I used to do that, and then I figured out how to pitch it, and it was always really fun. So we played from, I want to say 2004 to 2007 when I moved out to LA, or maybe 2004. I want to say is when we got that band together. We were on a Metal Blade Massacre, Metal Blades Metal Massacre 13 were the last track. Black Dahlia's on that. A few other Armand Amarth's on it. A few other bands are on it too, but we weren't too bad. We were mixed by somebody who was on Metal Blade Records. I ended up leaving the band to move to California. They ended up making 2 more sort of recordings with a buddy of ours, Max, who took over vocals, who's in another band who does like the most brutal death metal vocals ever. It's kind of awesome. If you're thinking like bodies, that's funny. Let's see. How would Jason come back if Never Hike Alone 3 was made? You'll have to watch it when it happens, but he will come back. Here's a good one. Where did the idea to become Jason like a curse? Well, I mean, it came from the movies. You know what I mean? Like the death curse. I think for me, it was just sort of, I wanted to put the death curse into practice. I wanted to make it something that was actually active, not just what something people talked about. It was an active curse. And so I just did a lot of research on curses and how they work, and how to break them, why they keep going, and all those different things. So that's really, once I figured that out, sorry for the loud exhaust. Hopefully noise cancellation is getting that. But once we figured that out, I sort of just wrote it. And, you know, what Tom says in the movie is basically based on the research that I did. Let me see. I found that End It All song as the Hikerman 5000 on the Never Hike Alone 2 soundtrack. So, yeah, the Hikerman 5000 song, or that actually isn't an End It All song. I'm not singing on that one. That's actually Max. We that was from the last Psychedelic Suicide, which was their last album that they put together. It was an EP with like 4 or 5 music. There's some bangers on that too. But yeah, Never Hike Alone does appear in Never Hike that, but the same people, Jake Gonzalez, who I would say is like the figurehead of the band. He's the lead guitarist. He's the one who writes the majority of the riffs. He's the one who helped me do the Trail Junkies theme song, the song that plays during Never Hike Alone 1 when he goes running through the forest and parkours through the forest. That's me, Jake, and another good friend of ours, Lenny Machado, who is in a band called Run Like Hell. Back in the day, our two bands shared a practice space. We did a lot of shows together. We threw a lot of private crazy shows at the band space too. And we're still all friends. And so we actually ended up getting together at Elm Street Studios, which is Lenny's recording studio. And we put that together for the first movie. So we're still playing music. And now that I'm back in Massachusetts, I don't live far from the rhythm guitarist, Ryan Willis, who lives right down the street from me now. So we're actually planning on getting together again this winter when things slow down a little bit, and writing some new tracks and hopefully doing some new stuff. I actually recorded some stuff summer and a half ago for another like band that we were trying to put together. We never quite got it off the ground, but we have a couple of demos that are pretty rad. So those are pretty fun. Maybe I'll get to play them one day. But yeah, definitely keep an eye out for some music stuff from me in the future, because I definitely want to get back into that world, especially being out here. New England has a big metal scene. I know a lot of people in it, so it'd be good to sort of get back on that horse and have some fun, as if I'm not busy enough. Mitch, I want to see Womp Stomp Films collaborate with King Diamond to bring the King Diamond stories to life. That would be a hit streaming series. Oh, that would be fun. I would love to, I talked to a few friends of mine. We had some ideas for music videos and things like that. So getting us some music video stuff, I think would be fun down the line, but I don't know. I think my narrative stuff always just wants to drag it out a little bit too far. Tyler, bam, go. There we go. Man, I'm struggling with this. This is rad. I did the band thing from 2005, 2011. I was a Children of Bottom fan. Saw them at Slim's. Nice. They may be proud to be finished. Yeah, hell yeah. Rest in peace, Alex Vallejo. But yeah, I'm a huge Swedish death metal fan. In Flames, Soilwork, Dark Tranquility, The Haunted, and then a lot of metalcore from New England. Shadows Fall, Unearth, Killswitch Engage, Lamb of God, As They Lay Dying, Pre-Murder Attempt, all that fun stuff. Big metalhead. I play guitar. I do play guitar, and with that bass, it's sort of the same thing. I know bassists will get mad at me for saying that, but both are fun to play. Yeah, I've been playing guitar since high school. I play on and off. Let's see. Cool. Write an NHE3 song called Ya Bang. Actually, we should sample Vinny's Ya Bangs and turn it into like a trap song. That would be fun. How did you convince Tom Matthews to participate in the Never Hike Alone trilogy? I've answered this question a million times, but I'll do it one more time just for you. Just real quick, I went on a lunch with him that was set up by our first executive producer, Barry J. I showed him a trailer for Never Hike Alone, explained what we wanted to do, and told him it would only be 1 day of work, and he agreed to do it based on his experience on set, based on the reaction that we got from fans back in the day, and him coming to Telluride with us and seeing it live in person. He sort of jumped on board to do the rest of the film right there, and we've been working together ever since. Oh, let's see what this is about. I didn't know what Ghost Chicken is about, but I'm going to assume it takes place in the Ghost Jason universe. No, it actually doesn't. Ghost Chicken is a short film I wrote, I want to say in 2018, 2019. That's won me a few awards for writing. I actually have it's actually already been storyboarded. It's been storyboarded and cut into an animatic that needs to be animated, but the animation is going to cost between $75,000 and $100,000. And so I need to, raise money for that. Ghost Chicken is about a vegan restaurant that's haunted by the ghost of a chicken and the one girl who is determined to figure out why. So it's sort of like a Nancy Drew mystery comedy about this girl who starts seeing a ghost chicken, or starts seeing a chicken running around a restaurant, in a vegan restaurant, wants to know what it's doing there. And so that adventure takes her on a mystery that needs to be solved. So it's pretty cool. It's about probably a 22-minute short. The script is about 22, 23 pages. There's a lot of action in it, but it's a lot of fun. There's some comedy into it, pokes fun at vegans and vegan culture. It's very much based on my experience going to vegan restaurants in LA and sort of the atmosphere that it sort of creates. And I came up with the idea one day while being at a vegan restaurant. The idea popped in my head, and I think I wrote it in a day and a half. The major premise of it, and then I've reworked it maybe 3 or 4 times over the years. But I'm really excited about it, and I think it has a lot of potential. One of the cool things about it is working with Mako Animation is, since they're a Mexican-based company, our idea was that we're going to do an English version, obviously, but we also want to do a Spanish version, Spanish dub, because it turns out that the 2 most popular items in animation, or I guess in sort of story culture in Latin America, are ghosts and chickens. So putting that together seems like a home run for the Latin America community. So I've definitely been leaning on my friends at Mako to sort of help me, get that ready for that sort of transition. So we're sort of co-directing in that way to make sure that, everything turns out the right way. But that's going to be a project that people should definitely keep an eye out for. When all is said and done, if we're on the timeline that I think we're on, we would probably get production started early next year, and we could probably see it by Halloween time next year. Maybe that could be one of our original releases that come out, because trust me, that's definitely a passion project that I want to see come to life. This is funny. Steve, there should be a band called Where Does the Red Dot Go? Would be no much to risk it. We could do that. Do you plan on making a versus movie with Ghost Jason? We did talk about Freddy versus Jason. Obviously, we have Jason versus Wolfman, which isn't Ghost Jason. It's more of its own thing. But yeah, I mean, we've talked about a couple things. I've talked to a few people about different versus ideas, but I don't know. It's just sort of one of those things. Mitch, your vegan friends will insist that you cook special for them. They won't cook special for you. Yeah, no, that's definitely that. But I think it's just like the vibe. I just remember every time I went to a vegan restaurant, they always had the worst fucking coffee. If Ash Williams and Thomas Jarvis fight Ghost Jason wins, or Tommy and Ash. I mean, the villain always got to lose. I don't think Tommy or Ash could ever die, honestly, because the fans would come for my head. The idea for Ghost Jason came from fans. So we were trying to come up with a name for the mask, and I came up with Bone Hawk because it looked like bone. And then Brandon Scott Murphy, who was one of the artists that we were working with at the time, he called it the Ghost Hawk. And then a good friend of mine, Joe Gallo, when he heard that it was called the Ghost Hawk, he asked me, said, does that mean that he's called Ghost Jason? And I said, it does now. So ever since then, the fans have really sort of, been the source of where the name came from. But as soon as we sort of put those pieces together, it just made sense. And that became our offshoot of being able to say Ghost Jason, which knew to differentiate it from Jason Voorhees of the Friday the 13th official franchise. So it's been a good sort of like nickname for us over the years for this series. I know you're just being a dick. Cursed Jason would be a good one. We could come up with something like that. That other Jason I made a few weeks ago that everybody got mad at, I call that the Phantom Jason. So, we're working on stuff. I always like to see, like, honestly, cosplayers out there, what I'd really love to see? I'd love to see more original designs. I've seen enough part 6s and part 7s and part 8s to last me till the end of time. It's time Friday the 13th fans start making their own Jasons and start making stuff from scratch and just seeing what they come up with. I think that's going to be a lot more interesting. Tyler's on working on some animation too. We'll have to talk when we get to the animation stage. We'll have to talk about some of the VFX we got to do too. All right, so we've been going for about an hour and change. Like I said, I wanted this to be sort of a quick check-in this week, and I'm sort of running out of things to talk about anyway. But next week we're going to be back into a little bit more of our regularly scheduled programs. I need to talk to a couple of guests about coming on in the coming weeks. We want to get the guys from We Watched a Movie on. And a few other actors and actresses that I need to reach out to and see if they want to come and check in. But before I go, I want to remind everyone one last time, Gotham Noir is still crowdfunding on Kickstarter. It still has a chance to make that goal. Go and help it have the best last week of funding ever. Let's get it to 100% so they can make this film in August and not have to wait any longer. If you haven't seen it, they've released new look of the Batman costume, the Catwoman costume. They released the cowl. Everything is looking really, really cool. I'm sure Chris is going to be doing a lot more stuff. So definitely make sure you're following Chris Stanley, Lux Media, and everyone involved with the Gotham Noir project. Gotham Noir also has its own social media sites on Instagram and everything like that. Our good buddy, Davey Deathray, is playing Jack Ryder, and he's been doing these little Jack Ryder tapes every Friday. They've been releasing them. So if you go back and listen to them, you can figure out who the villain that Batman is going to face is. And so definitely go check that out. Help out the campaign, do anything that you can, and do there. I'm cutting into all the good names are taking podcast time because they're ranking all the Friday the 13th based on, I believe, Rotten Tomatoes right now. So I'm going to let you guys go. If you're not doing it now, make sure you switch over to All the Good Names Are Taken. They're having some fun, I'm sure, making fun of me and other people and probably talking about how good they are at softball. But I will be back next week around this time. I'm now set up. I have my station ready to go. No more fighting this stuff. Before I go, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're liking things. Make sure you're watching Never Hike Alone 2. Oh, by the way, Never Hike Alone 2 is now less than 100,000 views away from passing Never Hike Alone 1 for, total views. So if you haven't watched it yet this week, give it an extra view. Let's give it a little boost. But, as always, thank you everybody for hanging out. Undead, thank you for moderating the chat and keeping everybody informed. I will check in with everybody next week. And until next time, I will see you all